When I was a kid, I used to lie in bed and think about what started the universe and wonder if maybe it was God. But is the beginning of the universe good evidence for God's existence? Arguments of this kind are often called cosmological arguments. And in this video, I want to talk about a particular version called the Kalam Cosmological Argument, and why, as an adult, I was convinced that it is good evidence for God. Hey, I'm Matt, and this is Truth Snack, my channel where I try to help Christians believe with confidence by answering their tough questions and exploring the Christian worldview more deeply. In this video, I'm discussing the Kalam Cosmological Argument because this playlist is not just a random collection of arguments for God. I'm trying to go over the arguments that convinced me personally that God exists. And because I'm a huge fan of William Lane Craig and he uses this argument all the time, it's the one that I'm most familiar with. And it goes like this: everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. The second premise, that the universe began to exist, really isn't that controversial. If you Google it, you'll find tons of websites and articles and videos that talk about the beginning of the universe, but very few that actually question whether or not it did. Alexander Vilenkin, who is a leading cosmologist, said it this strongly. He said, "All the evidence we have says the universe had a beginning." And when you hear that the universe began to exist, you probably ask, why? And if you do, it shows that you already believe premise one. Our constant and everyday experience tells us that out of nothing, nothing comes. So if the universe began to exist, then something must have caused it. And remember that this is a deductive argument with a valid logical form, which means that if the premises are true, then the conclusion follows necessarily. But you might be thinking that this argument seems to fall flat. Like, even if I believe that the universe has a cause, who's to say that that cause is God? That seems like a bit of a leap, right? Like maybe there's a scientific explanation we just don't understand yet. But if we zoom in on what the beginning of the universe means, we see that it means an absolute beginning of all time, space, and matter. So whatever caused the universe has to exist independently of time, space, and matter, meaning that it's timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and it's incredibly powerful because it created the universe. The discipline of science studies the natural world, but this cause exists beyond nature. It's something that the discipline of science can't measure. So we're left with this question: what could this timeless, spaceless, immaterial, powerful cause be? So let's just make a list with our options. When I try to do that, I realize that the only thing that I've ever heard of in my entire life that fits that description is God. So when I apply the standard for evidence of God that I'm using in this series, when the facts of reality indicate that God exists, it seems to me that the beginning of the universe is best explained by God. And this is just one piece of evidence in a cumulative case that convinced me that God exists. If you're interested in hearing another piece of evidence that helped convince me, you should watch the next video in this series by clicking right here.